For the video version of this podcast, visit the website egsproductions.com or everydaygaming.com. Thank you for the support, and now on with the show.
Oh, we're going?
Yeah, we are going. We are good.
Do we know what we're going to start with, or should we start with the big? I think the big news is obviously
Nintendo
the Switch. I mean, that's the big news. No matter what way you spin it, it's the biggest news.
I figured you were watching it all the way through.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what are your thoughts and opinions on it? So far, we do have a lot of games that have been confirmed.
Yes.
We have hardware that has been confirmed. We have compatibility that has been confirmed. But we still have some gray areas out there that we have not heard anything of yet. What are those gray areas for you? What are you looking forward to hearing and seeing that you haven't seen yet?
To me, there isn't necessarily gray areas in the same way there is for others. So I'll be honest, I felt like what I saw exceeded my expectations. I was expecting a significantly less impressive Nintendo Switch 2. I was expecting, I know that we always use a benchmark of other systems as that benchmark for what Nintendo can do because it's always a little bit less powerful. It's never one-to-one. But I was expecting something maybe slightly less powerful than a PlayStation 4, maybe slightly more powerful than the Switch 1, kind of falling in there somewhere because I don't think Nintendo ever really feels like they need to have a powerful console at this point. In a lot of ways, they don't. I do feel like they exceeded my expectations because now you do have a 4K system. It's going up to, 60 frames per second while docked, 120 while in handheld mode. The HDR, it looks like a real evolution from the Switch 1, and I feel like it was a lot more impressive in terms of power and what I've seen. And Nintendo always creates systems and hardware that works well with each other, and they can really wring a lot out of it. So I feel like what we're seeing is the gap between the Switch 2 and the PlayStation 5 and Xbox One or Series X is a lot smaller than the Switch and Xbox One and PlayStation 4. So I was really impressed by it. I thought the price for the system was right, about $450 to $500. That's kind of what I was expecting. I think Nintendo doesn't have the benefit of selling a system at a loss. That's just who they are. They're a game company. They're not a multimedia company in the same way Microsoft is or Sony. They don't have that luxury. And then I know there's a lot of pushback on the games, but the reality is we're reaching that time where games are just going to be more expensive because games are expensive to create.
Yep.
That's just the harsh reality. And people get upset about all these companies that do crunch time and they hurry up to finish a game. But the reality is Nintendo's always been really good with their developers. They don't crunch them. They seem to hire according to what the projects are needed of, And people always praise them for it. But at one point, you got to accept that this stuff comes at a higher price. It's just the nature of how these things are. I understand people are angry that they don't want to pay more. And I get the complaints. And that's fine. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. You know what I mean? I do think that there's kind of like an entitlement sense that they're like, well, I don't want to pay $80 and it needs to be cheaper. And it's like, okay, well, it's not going to be. And if you don't want it, don't buy it. But they do want to buy it. You know what I mean? Like, they do want it. And it upsets them that they're going to be paying more. And it's like, there's just nothing you can do. Things are expensive now. Making 4K games is expensive. Mario World or Mario Kart World for a Mario Kart game looked pretty much more complex than past Mario games, being a more open world, and especially open world games in general. Like, you gotta imagine the amount of money that Rockstar is spending to make Grand Theft Auto 6. It's got to be through the roof. It's got to be insane. This stuff is expensive as heck. The amount of detail that goes into just creating these worlds because they're in 4K, it just changes everything.
You're talking about years in development, too. This is not something maybe it's 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
You're talking 5, 6, 7, maybe a decade to make a game.
Yeah, and the amount of detail that goes into 4K is astounding. I mean, have you seen, even just with video footage, going from HD to 4K. The resolution jump is incredible. It's huge.
And it's only going to get better.
Yeah, which means developers have to put more detail into it, which is more time and more effort and more game people that they got to hire. It's just expensive. It's just the nature of it. You know, and then we're at this time where if you release a game, because you got to put the money into the game, but if you release it, like if it bombs, it can destroy your whole studio. Like they go under on one flop. You know what I mean? Like just one flop destroys them. Like this is where we are. Like I don't think it works, and I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of hope Sony and Microsoft look at what Nintendo's doing with the Switch 2 and realize I don't think Sony needs to go all out. I don't think neither of them need to go all out on an uber powerful console for PlayStation 6 and whatever. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to you?
Do you want a handheld?
They don't need to be handheld.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's okay to make a cost-efficient system that you're not going to get buried on. You know what I mean? Like it's okay. There is a noticeable difference between the PS5 and the PS4. Right?
And the Xbox One,
yeah.
the XNS.
But let's not pretend that the PlayStation 4 is ugly. You know, and they're still putting games out on that system, and they're very comparable to the PlayStation 5. I'm not saying don't make a noticeable leap in technology between the 5 and the 6. I'm just saying I think I would be okay with Sony. I mean, I would. I understand there's others that won't, but I don't care what they think. I am okay with Sony and Microsoft making cost-efficient systems that aren't going to break the bank because I think that they're going to deliver decent games still on those systems. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people would say, well, why don't you just keep the PS5 or the Xbox series going longer? And there's something to that, but at the same time, there is something nice about marking a new system era. And I don't think that to mark that system, they need to worry as much about power in this day and age. I think they can get a lot out of what they have right now. That's just my opinion on that. What do you think?
Well, you said a lot.
Mm-hmm. I did.
I believe for a decade, that's, I don't want to say the lifespan of a console or the lifespan of something, but I think that's when the general public is, hey, this has been out for a period of time. Technology has now advanced since this has come out. Please give us something new. Mm-hmm. I believe that Nintendo does a very good job to streamline what they have, and they continue to work on those core properties that do so well for them. They don't need so many indie developers to come on in and to be spreading themselves so thin. They're okay with taking their time to work on a project and make sure the project's all the way through before they release it and do 60 or 100 gigabyte update because that shit's so broken you can't even fucking load into the title screen. So I think they do a very good job with that.
I want to point out something because you brought up a good point. I feel like Nintendo manages to make their hardware seem like a premium buy. You know what I mean?
I think the public relations to aspect of Nintendo is, I don't want to say superior, but it's much higher up when you're comparing against Microsoft and Sony.
To a degree, yeah. And I just feel like when I go back and I think about the Switch and when it was unveiled and then I bought it, I'm like, yeah, this isn't as powerful, but I felt like just generally speaking, I'm holding a quality piece of hardware. You know what I mean? I'm holding a quality system. It's premium. It feels like you're paying a little bit more for less, but I'm not concerned about what they won't get out of it because Nintendo, they did some really impressive stuff with that Switch, the original Switch. And when I look at the Switch 2, I'm like, that is a premium quality brand in the same way Apple is. You know what I mean? Like I look at it, I'm like, okay, that I know is going to be a quality branding. Like I know it's going to be a quality piece of hardware. I know the software I'm going to get for it is going to be a quality piece of hardware. And it's not that Sony and Microsoft don't have that. And actually they do. I would argue in a lot of ways we're in kind of a somewhat golden era of gaming again, kind of like in the 90s with Sega and Nintendo, because I feel like all three systems just have something to offer.
I agree.
And I feel like you might prefer one over the other, but I don't see a reason why you still wouldn't like the other two. And it just, like, none of it feels cheap. You know what I mean? None of it feels like it's just thrown together and put out there for the world. It feels like just three quality pieces of hardware and they might offer different gaming experiences all around, and you might prefer one or the other, but it's just like there's something there for everybody.
Well, let's go back to your price point that you already talked about, $80 for being that set standard possibly for the entire industry.
Well, real quick, not all the games are $80.
Right,
like
right.
Donkey Kong, the new Donkey Kong game was $70.
Was Mario Kart, was that the $80 one?
Yes, Mario Kart was $80, but bundled in with the system, it was $50.
So is it going to be going up in price? Obviously, yes, it is.
It is. Yes.
Going way back in time, you again brought up the 90s, so you look back at the 90s, still $40 to $60 for a game that looked like, compared to now, complete dog shit.
Well, yeah, compared to now, at the time, though.
Right,
yeah,
but it's still new technology,
Yeah.
it's still new games, so yes, the price point is still always going to be going up, and if anybody...
They had games that were like $80 in the 90s.
They had their bundles, and they had, strategy guides, and they had the merch and the stuff that went with it.
We know what I'd like to see the industry embrace right now more, and I think they should, is more variable pricing. Not every game needs to be $70 or $80. And Nintendo is okay at that. They did release some games at like $40 and $50 during the Switch era, or less. You know what I mean? And I think that would be something I'd like to see more of. I think Microsoft is in a completely different realm because their focus is Game Pass. But I think Sony could get away with doing like $30, $40 games too. They don't all need to be giant scale, epics that are 50 hours of gameplay with giant open worlds. In fact, I'm at the age where I don't really want to sit and play open world games all the time, I want to play games that I can finally finish.
And we're at the age, and we're in the time frame now where we no longer need to ejectocito from the disc tray and put a new one in
Yes.
and load it on in. Yeah, you may have to do an update or something that hopefully your console is going to keep up and automatically update for you. So you rely a lot on the technology aspect. But if you want to go ahead and play 20 minutes of an open world in a first-person shooter for the next 3 hours, then you can do that just by a couple clicks of a button. So it's great.
Yeah.
Going back to the price point, I think that $70 is going to be the standard. And
I know it is. I mean, it was last gen.
Yeah, and we're just going to keep on going up from there.
Yeah.
And it sucks, and this is where I agree with a lot of the public. You're paying so much money, and you're getting, yes, 60 hours of entertainment at least per the gameplay on how long it'll take for a campaign, plus multiplayer, whatever, so maybe 100 hours. So is that going to be worth your time? Can you get it on sale? Possibly. So with Microsoft, going to your point on comparing it with Nintendo, Microsoft does a very good job. I am an owner of the Game Pass. So with the Game Pass, I can see a lot of the deals that they have, and they have extremely great deals. Destiny 2, you can get everything that they released for Destiny 2 for just around $50 to $60.
Yeah.
Which is fan-fucking-tastic. Buying that stuff individually is going to cost money. If there's somebody out there that wants to buy it, they will pay full price.
Yes.
If they're not wanting to pay full price, just fucking wait for it to come down.
Well, there's a lot of complaints that I see towards Nintendo where, like, their games never drop in value. They don't drop in price. And that's because the reality is people buy their games year-round.
That's not such a bad thing.
No. I mean, the thing is that, and I get where they're coming from, but the reason why other games drop in price is because they see a lull in sales at one point, Nintendo games don't really see a dive in sales. That's the problem. Like, Mario Kart will continue to sell over the next 5 to 6 years. That's just a harsh reality. The new version of Zelda, the Switch 2 version of the Tears of the Kingdom, it's going to sell. You know what I mean? And it's going to consistently sell over the next 5 or 6 years. Nintendo has just managed to create a brand where the general public, they may not buy Mario Kart World today, but they might buy it in 3 years. And they might somehow sell 1 million copies in 3 years still.
And that game is probably still going to be relevant in 10 years.
Yes, exactly. That's just, you can get angry at them, but they're not they don't need to. They don't need to worry about it because their games are going to sell. The general public wants to play Mario Kart, and they want to play it in 5 years. And there's going to be 1 million people in the general public that are like, hey, I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to get it. The thing with hardcore gamers is that they play games that, I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of them start to bomb after about 3 months. A lot of those games, like, they don't, it's like, I enjoy the Assassin's Creed games, right? But let's be honest, the majority of those games, they sell within the first 3 months, right? The majority of those copies. And then 6 months in, they're selling at half the price because the people that really want to play it have already bought it. The bulk of the people that are going to play Assassin's Creed that are hardcore Assassin's Creed players, and there could be 2, 3, 4, 5 million of them, right? I'm not saying it's a small amount, but I'm saying if they really want to play it, they're going to play it. They're going to get it within the first few months. And then, like clockwork, you always see those drop in price at like $30 within like 6 months. Because by then, that's when the sales start to go down. I would almost guarantee it. Nintendo sees year-round sales. That's just how that works.
That's a very interesting point to bring up when comparing Assassin's Creed to a Nintendo title. Pick a Nintendo title. Do you want to do something simple like Donkey Kong? It's been around for a long ass time, right?
Oh, yeah.
Donkey Kong still sells
Yes.
well. They may
Yes.
still have that retention of the cult following buying it for those 3 months, but then years later, you're still going to always have that retention period of your comeback people, your returning customers, if you will. With Assassin's Creed, what I think they really did is a decade or so ago is release a new fucking game every year.
And that's kind of the problem. Like by the time, and same with Call of Duty. I can guarantee you, Call of Duty will do 10 million sales with units within the first week, right?
6 months later, how much is your user base going to be dropping?
Yeah,
Plus,
yeah.
also that 6 months, you're going to have other games drop out too. So you got a lot of competition.
Yeah,
going
but
on.
that's why they have another Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed a year later. Nintendo spent years building up their branding. Nintendo itself is a brand. And they've gotten to this point to where the general audience is like, okay, I'm willing to buy a Mario Kart 3 years after its release. And not just a little bit of people, like a lot. Like millions of people are going to buy that game 3 or 4 years from now. You know what I mean? And it's not the same for Assassin's Creed Shadows or whatever. Which one? Is that what it is? Shadows that just came out?
Yeah.
They're not going to go out and... But, I mean, there will be people that buy it. Like, I'll buy it in like a year or two, because it'll be cheaper. But the majority of the public has already moved on, and they're going to be ready to move on to the Assassin's Creed, whatever the next one is going to be. And Ubisoft knows it. And this is just something in the industry that I just don't think works. This is why it comes down to, if your game doesn't hit within the first few months, usually within the first weekend, the audience isn't coming around for it. And I don't think this is sustainable.
I'd be curious on how many games each of the major people release over the course of the year, or say the last 5 years. If you say that, yes, there is a lot more Microsoft or Sony-based games in that bargain bin than Nintendo, I think that they do pump out a lot because they have nabbed up a lot of these indie developers, a lot of these smaller people, and that's one way to dominate the entire marketplace. Luckily for us, we're starting to get to a point where cross-play, cross-gen compatibility is starting to become a thing, to where you're on the Switch, I'm on the Xbox, I can play with you during certain games, but there's still certain games that I can never touch, like a Mario title.
Yes.
Or certain titles on the PlayStation for Helldivers,
And yeah, I mean, I am going to try to get a Switch 2 on. As long as it stays where it is price-wise, I think $500 for me is kind of going to be my limit. If it goes up due to the tariffs, then I wait. However, I'm wondering if it will, because I was reading an article earlier that the Trump administration has actually exempted certain computer components and chipsets from the tariffs.
Interesting.
And apparently Nintendo Switch would fall under that. So my guess is I think they're going to have to release it at max at $500. I do think there's been a backlash towards it. And while I do see in other countries, the pre-orders are doing really well in other countries. I don't think Nintendo should take that for granted. I really don't, because they've had issues with those follow-ups consoles in the past. You know what I mean? Like the Wii U. They really didn't do well with the Wii U after the Wii. The Wii was a huge success, right? And then the Wii U came out and the audience just wasn't there for it. I think the audience was very confused by it and what it really was. So I think there was multiple reasons on that one. But then the 3DS. The 3DS, if people remember, had a really, really sluggish start. A really sluggish start. It actually, I don't remember like what the month frame was, but they dropped the price after some time, pretty quickly for a Nintendo console. And then they offered all the people that purchased the 3DS during the original launch price, you got like 12 GBA games free that you could load up digital, which I thought was a great deal, because a lot of the games they gave you for free were just awesome games that I loved. But that just showed that Nintendo released that system and it just didn't hit. It did eventually come back around and become one of their most popular, best-selling systems. So they did find a way to really connect with the audience with it. But I don't think Nintendo, I think going into this, I think they're aware of what the backlash is. And I think if the tariff isn't if they're able to get it by without this tariff going up, I think they're going to keep it at the 450, 500 price range.
So that was the next big article that I wanted to bring up. It's not really an article, talking point.
It's not. It's a thing that's happening. Like it's an actual.
Right. How much is that going to be affecting our industry of what we enjoy, the gaming industry, the movie industry?
Yes.
I mean, how much is it going to impact day release titles? We had this happen 5 years ago with COVID. We had games get pushed back months and years. Some games that were in development in 2020 just completely got nixed, or they're still haven't yet to come out. Are we going to be seeing a heavy pushback to where we're going to have something done and completed, but we're not going to be able to release it just because of these tariffs?
Yeah.
What do you think?
So, interestingly enough, as you know, I came and I talked to you about looking at new cars right now, and I'm looking at foreign cars. And I talked to the salesman. We were having a conversation, and it was interesting because he's like, we don't have a lot on a lot right now because they kind of put a hold on what they're bringing in and not bringing in order-wise. The company did, not the dealership, but the company that they go through. And he was just explaining, he's like, we don't know what's going on. Like, we just don't understand. And it's like, it's not just the tariffs. It's the chaotic aspect of how they're handling it. Like, every day keeps changing. One day it's, they're all having this tariff. And then 2 days later, it's like, no, we're not doing that now. And then a couple days, okay, well, maybe we're doing a little bit, but you know what I mean? It's just, it's so uncertain because our current government just isn't, and I don't want to go into bashing or saying bad things
not.
Or good things, because, we probably have people that, support the government and those that don't, which is fine.
And we're not going to talk about politics.
Yeah, we're not going to do politics here because I don't think, but I mean, what's happening is the government it's chaotic. Everything's fluid right now, and it's fluid from day to day. And the businesses that rely on products from overseas, I don't think are getting a very good grasping or understanding of where things are going to be because it's about predictability. Everything's unpredictable right now. So that's why I'm wondering if it's hard. I got to understand from Nintendo's perspective, it's hard. And I think it's going to continue being that way until we see our government kind of settle into an actual policy. Like I think when the markets finally get this idea of, okay, so now this is where the government's going and they can settle in, I think we'll see a better understanding of things. But I think with things being so chaotic as they are now, it's hard for any business, no matter what industry you're in. If you rely on some components or something overseas, it throws you in flux right now.
And I'm sure if you were to dive deep enough into any company out there,
yes,
it's probably going to be affected in some way. Or
well,
at least
even
it's
American companies and car companies, they rely on parts overseas. You know what I mean? Like that screws them up too, because that throws them through a loop. So, I think everything's in flux until we have a better understanding of what the government's actually going to do.
But I don't think we're going to have any major stops when it comes to games that have been currently in development that are going to be talked about and coming out.
No. I mean, they're gonna have to operate somehow. You can't not make money. You can't not be a business. You remember during COVID, everyone's pushing things back or trying not to, but they have to. Like movies, especially. I remember when I was on the box office subreddit, and they're like, why aren't they releasing movies? Like, why aren't they releasing movies? We need to get movies back in. And this is back in 2021, 2021, and 22. And it's like, because nobody's going to the movies. Even when you release a new movie, they're just not going. And that's just the reality, it's just theaters, theaters need to make money, but so do the people that make the movies. So, it's unfortunately kind of that's kind of like the catch-22 of it all. Like they're holding back because they can't do anything with any of this. They just can't make money. And when you have an industry like the movie industry that's reliant on making $250 million budget pictures, they can't afford to bomb. That's just the harsh reality. That's where we are now. It's not a sustainable model. Just like I don't think it's a sustainable model that in gaming, everything has to be a giant open world game. And, you know what I mean? It's not sustainable. I don't see how it's sustainable.
Movies. Let's segue into that real quick.
Okay.
Speaking of going to the movies, I did go see the Minecraft movie.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
It's so funny. So did I.
Yeah?
I went with my buddy and his son, and I don't know anything about Minecraft. You know that. And nothing made sense to me. Like, the whole movie, I felt like this is the first time I've ever felt old. Because we're in a movie full of younger kids, and everything that's happening, they're standing and cheering, and I'm like, I have no idea what's happening.
It was a rock concert in our theater.
Yeah, I'm like, what is this? Like, I have no idea who these characters are. I have no idea the relevance of these characters. You know, like, I didn't understand any aspect of this movie, and it's because I just don't play the game. It's not in my wheelhouse, but these kids loved it. So it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, same with me. But movie though, what did you think of it? Yes,
I thought it was trash.
There's no relevance. So
Yeah.
do the characters talk eventually at some point? Yes, there were the live animations and the stuff that came on out later. But being, I guess I can call myself a Minecraft OG player. No, there were no voices. There were no nothing. It was just a character. There was nothing attached to it. I thought it was a bit obnoxious. I think it was well catered to the family, well catered to the kids, and I believe that they enjoyed themselves. And
Yeah, I mean, it's very specific to the fan base, and it has a huge, huge fan base.
yes.
So it can do that. For someone like me, I didn't understand the world that existed. I didn't get it. I didn't understand what they were doing. I didn't understand the characters. It made no sense to me. The world and the concept made no sense to me. Like, nothing made sense to me in regards to it. But I never played the games, so I didn't have any enjoyment in it. I kind of like the beginning with Jason Momoa's character, where he's playing the washed-up '80s video game guy. I'm like, man, I kind of wish they would have just done that movie. You know, just a regular, like, this guy that's struggling with the fact that he's a nobody now in a modern world, and not in a Minecraft movie, but just a regular, like, that would have been a funny movie. Like, I would have liked that movie.
You never know. That could be coming further on down the line. If
They could do a
Hollywood,
spinoff, yeah.
yes,
yeah.
they could.
They could do a spinoff. I thought it'd be weird not to have them in the Minecraft movie doing that stuff, but they're getting ready to do another Minecraft movie after how successful this movie's been.
They lit it up to it right at the button scene after the credits. Yes.
I didn't see the post-credit scene, so I don't know what happened.
Yeah, the other character, the other main character in Minecraft, Jack Black, goes back to his house. The character Steve goes back to the house and then meets Alex, which is the other character, which is...
Who was that played by?
Did not see her face.
Oh, okay, so they still have it open to cast like a major star. Okay.
Correct. Yep, did not see the face, but you did see the red hair, and it sent
so she's a
goosebumps on my skin, because it was kind of cool to see that, but then sitting back in reality, goosebumps go away, because it's another Minecraft movie that's going to be coming out. It's going to be the same as the first. Could it be better? Sure.
They'll probably cast like Scarlett Johansson or Sydney Sweeney in it.
Who the hell knows?
Yeah, so I wouldn't know who that character was or why it would matter, because it would just be someone sitting there. I'm guessing you don't see her face, you just see her back of her head?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Back of the head, hear her talk, shake the hands with Steve, and then that was it.
Did the audience go ballistic for it?
For the people that were left,
yes. Okay.
Yeah,
I have I had no idea. I'm like, I wouldn't have no idea. That's what I'm talking about. Like, it would mean nothing to me.
A fair amount of people did go up and leave and take off, and then a couple stayed back, and we were one of the ones that stayed back. And again, there were a very loud eruption of cheers and applause, and the only thing that I could compare it to, and it was not as bad, because as you witnessed, it's a bunch of kids having fun. They're enjoying themselves.
Yeah,
right?
it was so funny, because my buddy I went with, he's a film guy too, and he was like, no, they could have made this be better. It could have been just, it would have been a much better movie. But I'm like, yeah, but what does it matter? The movie wasn't really made to be good. It was made to be a product for people that love it, and it's on its way to making $1 billion. Like, that's just the reality. It hit with the audience it needed to. It didn't hit with me, and that was just what it was. I'm not going to throw a fit about it. It's just a Minecraft movie is for people that like Minecraft. I don't know anything about it, so.
A good comparison I could have it to how the atmosphere was is the first Star Wars. When that first came out, Star Wars Episode 1, I should call it. So when that came out, when I saw that in theaters, the only difference between that and Minecraft is that it was grown-ass adults.
Yes.
Instead of kids.
And, it's kind of like what it was like when I saw Spider-Man No Way Home. And you had all those cameos pop up in the whole... That was like what it was where you had all like Tobey Maguire stepping through. This was like it was like a bigger deal to these kids for some of these characters. So it worked. It set with the character. I mean, the audience. I mean, it worked. It looks like it's gonna come close to $1 billion. If it doesn't pass $1 billion, it's gonna come close.
So yeah, most obviously they're gonna be making a second one.
Oh yeah, I mean,
No doubt.
I would be like setting up multiple sequels and spin-offs and whatever you can come up with.
Hollywood, man, they're gonna milk that.
Yeah, well,
dry.
it's having a hard time, you know. Like movies that they thought were going to be big aren't turning out to be the big hits they thought they were going to be.
Snow White, how about that one?
Oh man, that one did not go well at all.
Did you see it?
No. I don't go to the movies as much.
I wanted to see it to see how bad it was. I heard that the dwarves they would give people nightmares. I didn't think they looked that bad.
No, I thought the dwarf thing was a little overkill.
I think there's more controversy around everything that led up to this movie being released versus what was actually being done on screen.
So yeah, I think that a lot of the issues people had with it were I'm not. First off, I don't think there was an audience that really wanted a Snow White remake at this point. And I think that I don't think that I'm in agreement with you. I don't think the dwarfs look that bad. I thought they I get why they made them look like they did in the animated movie. You know, that's what people know and love of those characters. It didn't bother me, and I think that it was less people bothered by the dwarfs and their animation. And just like you said, it was they were annoyed with the concept of the film as a whole, and they just allowed the dwarfs to exacerbate themselves into it, because all the dwarfs were played by dwarfs, as far as I know. So it's like it didn't really mean anything. I don't know. I agree. I'm kind of in agreement. I think that the things people didn't like were everything else about the movie. I don't think the audience likes Rachel Zegler. I think she's somehow become a public figure that's gotten under people's skin. And then I think add into the fact that I don't think people wanted a Snow White remake. And so I think every little thing that could bother them, they would allow bother them.
The plot was much different from the original.
Yeah, and I think that's
they veered very far away. And I think that from the articles that I remember reading, and the general consensus I got of just people that love Disney that are surrounded by me is that they wanted to see it, but that was going off of the original storyline.
Yeah, well, it's just I think like.
At some point, it changed, it shifted, and nobody liked it. I shouldn't say nobody.
It's kind of that pendulum, and again, it's not to be political, but there is this pendulum that we live in a society where wokeness has become the new thing, and I think we just go too far on some things, and I think Hollywood goes way too far on what they see as social advancement, and the rest of the world, most of the world just doesn't want anything to do with it, you know, and you know. There's some good parts of what need to be talked about when it comes to that way of thinking. But then it's kind of like you give them an inch and they start taking a mile type of thing. And it just kind of makes people roll their eyes a bit, you know, like they just don't want anything to do with it. It just annoys them. It gets under their skin. And then the backlash ensues. And then the pendulum starts swinging that way. You know what I mean? So I think that's what I view of it. Because there were things like there was no Prince Charming in it or whatever. Or what, I don't know if it's Prince Charming, but the prince wasn't there to come save her. It was somebody else. And I'm like, this isn't going to resonate. And then when you have Zegler out there, and she's a very progressive, socially progressive type, and very doesn't. And here's the thing, I like Rachel Zegler a lot. I think she's a great actress. But when she's out saying things that start annoying people, they're just not going to show up.
It's bad press.
Yeah, it's bad press,
especially for something like Disney.
I
think Disney would expect a lot more out of their actors and actresses to act a certain way because it's going to be bad press for that company too.
But on the flip side, I feel like she's always been vocal about her stances and stuff, and they took the risk of hiring her, so they kind of got to blame Disney on that too. Again, I like Rachel Zegler. I think she's I think she's one of the better actresses right now.
So it could have been a good casting call, but it's just...
Well, and that was another thing. Let's be honest, that was another thing people got mad about was, I think is she Latina? She's Latina. She's Latina, I believe. I might be wrong on that one. You might want to look that up. And, it's like people got mad because it's Snow White. She needs to be really white.
Why does it matter?
Well, it doesn't matter to me.
I know, but okay, it's the same argument that people made when The Mermaid came out, right?
Yeah, well, I think the argument is that they make it a point to make the fairest skin of all part of her characteristic. Don't get me wrong. I like Rachel Zegler. I'm more likely to go see the movie because Rachel Zegler's in it. I wouldn't have seen that Y2K movie because Rachel Zegler was in it. So I don't care. But there was kind of a backlash on that one. And there was a backlash on The Little Mermaid, too. And The Little Mermaid underperformed. And I liked that movie. I liked What's-Her-Face in it when she played Ariel. I thought she was a really good Ariel.
Maybe there's certain things that you shouldn't do. And, they're testing the waters. And they tested the waters, too, with Ghostbusters. Switching out to an all-female cast.
Well, that didn't work because they went back to the original. They're like, all right, we're done. I don't know. Like, it's hard to say because there's times when the audience doesn't care when you race or gender swap, and then there's times when they do. It's hard to say when and where they do. I think in Disney's case, I feel like maybe the audience feels like they do it so much that it almost feels like they're purposely trying to make a political statement. And I think that it begins to upset you start to upset. I say this, the internet isn't the real world. But when the internet starts backlashing, it can kind of reverberate a bit to the real world, if that makes sense. Like the shock waves can kind of go to the real world, and then the general audience just doesn't really have an interest at that point. But yeah, I don't know. To me, I don't know. Like, I don't know what, like, the rules are unspoken. I don't think there are rules, it's just, you get people that are, like, the audience can be fickle on what they'll accept and won't accept. And sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Do we have anything else? Want to talk about movies?
I'm trying to think.
Might as well, since we're on the subject, get it out of the way. So the last time I talked to you...
I don't go to the movies as much as I used to. It's just not worth it anymore.
I did watch Fallout, the season,
yes.
all the way through. I did see The Last of Us.
That was great. That was good.
Still haven't watched any Halo. But
I have not watched it. I'm not going to watch Halo.
But out of those two shows, you've seen them both?
Yes.
I thoroughly enjoy both of them.
They were both really good.
And I'm looking forward to the second or the next season of both of them.
Yes. I thought Fallout was probably the better of the two, generally speaking. I know Last of Us is the award-winning one. But what I felt like the Fallout stuck closer to the game.
There's so much more, I think, areas of memorabilia that you can put in there in that lore and that feel of making it feel like Fallout.
And yeah,
The Last of Us is just every kind of post-apocalyptic, run-of-the-mill zombie bullshit, right?
Yeah, and it's a good show. It's a real good show.
Yes, I'm not taking anything away from it.
There's a million, Fallout's technically a post-apocalyptic world too, but
yes.
It was unique, and I thought they did a really good job at translating all of the games to the big screen, like what made the game special in the world, and they did a really good job with it, and I always felt like I was in Fallout watching that, you know what I mean? Whereas The Last of Us, I feel like at times you kind of forget that you're watching a show where they're in a world full of monsters and creatures and these dangers, I would like to have seen more of that. But, they wanted to focus more on the drama and the conflict between characters, which is fine. It works. But like you said, it's not necessarily unique. It's not something we haven't seen a million times. It's not like a unique spin on the concept of the post-apocalyptic world. And I look forward to both next seasons. Like, I'm going to be watching it tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then Monday I'll catch up on it. So.
I believe that they've done a very good job sticking with the video game.
Yeah, the changes they made make sense, and that's kind of the issue that I think video game movies have, where, this is definitely an issue with the Resident Evil movies, where they just simply, they don't want to stick to what works within the games. Like, you can take liberties, but it feels like they always, like, their movies are always something different, but then they're like, okay, well, we got the Resident Evil branding, let's slap it on those movies and throw some Resident Evil pieces in there so people will think it's a Resident Evil movie. I think that The Last of Us and Fallout, when they needed to take liberties, they were smart moves. They made sense to take those liberties at those times. So, yeah, it was real good. The Mario movie, I don't think the Mario movie was as good as it could have been, but it was a Mario movie. Like, I felt like I was watching a Mario movie, and the areas that needed to be changed, and it worked. So, yeah.
I did see that, too. I didn't mind it.
It was all right. It was cheesy. It was a little goofier for me than I'd like.
I did not see Sonic.
I like Sonic. Sonic's good. Again, the liberties that need to be taken make sense to what they're creating. It doesn't really abandon what makes the games the games. And they've consistently gotten better. Like, the Sonic movies have actually gotten better with each one. So, and actually even more closer to the source, I feel. So, yeah, no, they get that right. The Resident Evil's the only one that they don't give. They're just wiping their ass with that one. They don't care at all about that IP. They're like, no, we're just going to make a zombie movie in the spirit of Resident Evil. And it's like, okay, well, what's that? Well, it's going to be zombies. Okay, like, what's the spirit of Resident Evil part?
I'll call it Umbrella Corporation.
Yeah, well, there's a business in it called Umbrella, and he's just caught in a zombie apocalypse. Yeah, but that sounds like The Walking Dead. Yeah, but it's going to be in the spirit of Resident Evil.
It's Umbrella.
Yeah, but it's Umbrella. It's not The Walking Dead. Yeah, but like it's almost like this vague thing of like Resident Evil, and I've had arguments like, well, you could just make something in the spirit of it. It doesn't have to be exactly Resident Evil. I'm like, yeah, but if you're not like making Resident, it's like it would be like making a Superman movie and having it have no Superman, but the lead character is a hot dog vendor out on the street.
It's like making a cup of strong ass coffee that you want. And not putting any coffee in.
Yeah.
Or maybe just a half a spoonful instead of 5 or 6,
it's
right?
Like, guys, like there's a defined set of characters in Resident Evil. There's a defined storyline. You know, when you're saying I'm going to do something in the spirit of Resident Evil, what do you mean? You're going to do something in the spirit? Like, what does that even really mean? You're just going to make a zombie movie? Like, that Resident Evil is not even really a zombie movie, a game. You know what I mean? There's more monsters. It's like got a lot of great corporate espionage and the connections to the government and the corruption and everything.
There's great stories.
And it's cheesy. And that's the thing is that it's cheesy. It's over the top. That's part of what makes Resident Evil fun is that it's just way over the top, crazy, weird stuff that happens. And you got to embrace that. None of the movies they're all afraid to be that. You know, it's like they're ashamed to be Resident Evil movies. They're ashamed to be video game movies. You know, it's like...
I mean, look at it. When you start to add on 5, 6, 7 of the same fucking movie, it becomes very, very, very watered down. Look at the Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah.
Well, we're at 23 now? I think we're only at like 9 or 10.
Man, I would love for Resident Evil to be like the Fast and the Furious movies at this point. At least at that point, it wouldn't be afraid to embrace the craziness of Resident Evil. I mean,
yeah, then you'll be pulling it too far away from a video game. Fast and Furious is its own thing.
I'm not saying be like
do its own thing.
No, I'm not saying like be like a car race. I'm just saying
No.
Fast and the Furious, it was like, hey, we're just gonna go all in and be dumb and crazy and weird. We're gonna launch people into space. We're gonna have them do all this crazy stuff.
My God.
You know what I mean? But it's like Resident Evil has so many crazy, weird things that happen throughout it. It's like embrace it. Have fun and make it that, make it, I was talking to some people and they're like, I always felt like Resident Evil was probably closer to, say, Pirates of the Caribbean than it was like some horror film or something. And I think they're right. There's just a lot of crazy, weird stuff that happens in Resident Evil that could be built around great set pieces, great characters, great monsters, and it would be awesome. Like, that would be Resident Evil. Like, I would agree with that.
What about not in a movie? So when the first Resident Evil came out, not a lot of video game adaptations of a series or something, right? It didn't really have the streaming services.
Well, they did a Resident Evil series, too, on Netflix. But it had nothing to do with Resident Evil.
There you go.
They hired, they had Wesker in it. They hired Lance Reddick as Wesker. That was one of those race swappings I don't think worked. In fact, because he looked more like Blade than he did Wesker. And Wesker, he has such a defined look. You know what I mean? Like, Albert Wesker has such a defined look, and that's why I don't think it works for a race swap. But it's like, they tried it, and it just didn't. I didn't watch the show. I've read about it, and I've read people that watch. I refuse to watch stuff that just sounds stupid now. I've kind of gotten over this watching everything. I don't have all the time in the world to watch stuff.
Good for you.
And I watched the trailer for this, and it was just another post-apocalyptic universe, had pieces of Resident Evil, and it just bastardized. Like, I think Wesker was the only character that showed up, and he was a bastardized version of Wesker. And I'm like, I'm not watching this. This is stupid. I don't want to watch this dumb shit that has nothing to do with Resident Evil and just bastardizes the concept. That's not to insult Lance Reddick. I know he passed away shortly after, but it's just he wasn't the right choice for the. And it's not his fault. The show was just a bad idea, so I don't even really care. But yeah, I just don't watch stuff now that just looks stupid. You know what I mean? Like,
not worth your time.
No, there's other things I want to do, and that was kind of the thing coming into COVID. I found myself just going out, enjoying life more. That's why I don't worry as much about games being expensive. If I'm interested in a game, I'm fine paying for it because I don't buy as much as I used to. I'm so targeted in what I play and what I watch now. I don't want to just watch anything. I don't want to just. there's too much to do in this world, entertainment-wise and activity-wise.
So side segment here. Let's get a little bit personal. Is that because you're getting older? You're getting a lot more gray hair coming out, and you're like, you know what? Life is really too goddamn short.
No, I mean, you have a little bit of that, but it's not directly that. It was just when it was during the pandemic, as we're coming out of it, and I found myself just going out and enjoying life because I'm not going to the movies as much. I'm not playing as many games because here in Michigan, you know, we were able to go to all the parks for free. You didn't have to have the passes or anything, so I was going to the parks. And I'm like, I just enjoy being active. I enjoy spending time with people that I know. I want to go out and enjoy life a little bit more. And then I'm watching, like, I go and I watch another Marvel movie, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, this is it? I was watching all these for years at this point. What am I getting out of it?
But you weren't really watching them there at the comfort of your own home for a long time. You were on the AMC Movie Club.
Yeah.
So you were driving all the way down to town
I'm
and all
still
that
signed
shit.
up for it because I go to movies still, but not as much. And it's like, I just rather do other things now. Like, none of these movies mean anything. And I see a lot of argument where people are like, well, if they didn't go to streaming so fast, you'd like to go see them. I'm like, no. Like, I went and saw, so for whatever reason, I went and saw Captain America 4 a couple of months ago when it came out. And I just got done with it. I'm like, why did I fucking do this? Like, what did I get out? I just sat here for 2.5 hours watching this dumb fucking movie and getting nothing out of it. And like, it's not even like you need to watch it to see what happens next, because I don't care.
You wasted your time. You wasted your money.
I'm just sitting here watching this, and I'm like, it didn't feel like a good experience. And people would argue, well, yeah, and if you knew it was going to be out in 3 weeks on streaming, you would have just stayed home and watched it streaming. Like, no, I would have stayed home and watched it streaming because film should be more than just this dumb corporate product where they're trying to sell action figures.
I think you should go out for the experience, too, and that's why you go to the theaters.
You go to the experience, and it's just like, but I want the experience to be with a movie that makes it worth going in. The problem that you're running into is that every movie is a giant $200 million budget movie. They're all big spectacles, so nothing is a spectacle. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like the Barbie Oppenheimer thing. You know what I mean? Now, that was a great experience. I got to go see both those movies. I would never go see Barbie outside of this context where they did such a great job of selling both Barbie and Oppenheimer. And Oppenheimer, there's nothing else like that. You know, a Nolan movie, you're going to go in, that's a real spectacle. The Barbie movie was fun to watch with it. You know what I mean? It was just such a cool double punch. And I liked it. And it's like, you can't create that. You just can't create it. It just happens organically. It felt like something that everyone wanted to do, you know? And you had people of all ages and backgrounds at those movies. It's like the Thunderbolts come out in a couple months. I don't want to go see those. Who gives a fuck about the Thunderbolts? I don't want to go watch a bunch of D-list villains get together and fight somebody. Like, that sounds like the dumbest fucking movie ever. And then I like the Suicide Squad. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I like the Suicide because I like James Gunn. So I went and see the Suicide Squad, and I really liked it. Well, I watched that at home. But, you know, it's just like, I can wait I'm kind of getting to the point where I can wait 6 months to watch a movie. Or a year. Like, if they're going to push that window back a year, I'll wait. Yeah. I can watch Captain America a year later. It's nothing on there that I need to see. You know what I mean? Like, who gives a shit? And that doesn't mean I won't go see some of these movies. I'm curious to go see the new Avengers movie with Robert Downey Jr. back as Dr. Doom. That's cool. I'd like to see that. And then, on the flip side, if someone else was playing Dr. Doom like Mads Mikkelsen, I probably wouldn't be as interested. So, I don't know. You know, it's hard to, like, it's just, what's the point for a lot of this stuff? Some of it's cool, and I'd like to go see it, but it's just like other things happen now. There's other options to do and enjoy life.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So
I like those standalone movies a lot more than, and I hate to say it when compared to, we'll say, a Marvel movie, right?
Yeah.
But if I get myself into a Marvel movie, I know it's tied in to the story somehow.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have to be possibly stuck watching 13 fucking movies.
Well, it's not just the movies. You got to watch the show. And then actually I had this, I had this thing where I'm...
So, hold on. Let me finish real quick.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
No, it's good. It's awesome having this experience of having this fucking universe.
Yeah.
And if I was this involved with the universe as you are, then we can just go back and forth and really nerd out about it.
Yeah. Except for I'm not as involved as you think, because I'm not, like, I don't want... Like, I watch some of the shows.
I like Captain America, but I'm not going to go see every show. I'm going to go see every movie. I understand the backlog and the story within the comic books, but I don't feel like I need to go see everything to have a conversation with somebody about what's going on in the universe currently versus, 50 years ago.
Yeah, and it's weird, the stuff that they're pushing. Like, I like the She-Hulk show.
Other people didn't because it was a woman being strong and doing things. And I had a friend.
That's what She-Hulk is.
Yes,
you have Hulk, you have She-Hulk.
I had a friend that had a fucking full-blown meltdown over She-Hulk because she's like, she could control the She-Hulk immediately. I'm like, dude, it's just a fictional comic book character. Who cares? The show was funny. It was a good weekly show. It was fun. No, I don't, just this angry group of people just got angry about it. But I'm like, this is a funny show.
Don't like it, don't watch it.
Well, they didn't watch it. Well, the core audience watched it because they watched it, but no one just turned around and watched it because no one's turning around and watching too much Marvel. It's just too much Marvel, and it's all spectacle. Everything's spectacle, so there is no spectacle. It just is what it is, and I don't want to watch stuff that just doesn't have any meaning anymore. So I'm kind of backing out. Like, I would never go see Minecraft. I was just invited by my friend and his son. He's like, I'd like you to come with us. You want to come? I'm like, yeah. I would never watch it otherwise. So I went for that experience to go with my buddy and his son. I would never go otherwise. That's not to say I don't go to movies. I went and saw A Working Man a couple weeks ago with Jason Statham. And I like watching fun action movies like that. So I like to watch it. Now, I could have waited for it to come out. But I had some free time. I was sitting around bored. I'm like, okay, I'll go. I think it was a nasty day, too. So I'll go catch it. I'd like to see what that's like. But there's just so much now. And actually, I don't want to... Another thing that actually affected me was when our friend passed away.
Yeah.
That actually had a bit of an effect on, like, where life is and what I'm getting out of life.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. My habits had begun changing before him. But it definitely makes you put things into perspective when someone, and he was significantly younger than me.
And I'll say this real quick. This is the first time doing a podcast since it happened. And this is the first time that basically someone has taken a seat because, he's there for every single week for God knows how many years and episodes, right?
Yeah, and when you have that moment, it's like, man, I want to go out. I go out with my friends and have...
He was our age.
Yeah, he was our age.
And he was there one weekend, 3 days later, he was gone.
He's gone, and it just hits you hard, and it's like, man, I'd rather just go to a small concert nearby at a show. So it's like I'm going to concerts more. I'm spending more time with my friends. I'm spending more time going out and enjoying life. I'm talking about taking on hobbies like golfing or something. I want to just do stuff. I want to kayak this summer because I just want to be more active. I didn't get to be more active last summer just because I got injured at the gym. So I was kind of down a bit for quite a few months just due to the injury. But now it's like the summer's coming up. I just want to find more to do. And sitting in a theater, watching dumb movies that are formulaic without any value, without giving you anything, without adding anything about the things that we like about art. You know what I mean? The things that make us better as people when you're thinking with art. They're not there in these movies. And the thing is, those movies aren't doing well in theaters either. Most people are fine just waiting for streaming. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I can wait for streaming for a lot of this stuff. I don't like having interest. I love James Gunn movies, but I don't have an interest in seeing Superman. You know what I mean? It looks fine. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm gonna probably go see it with my buddy because he's really excited about it. But it's the start of a new universe. I don't care. I really honestly don't care. I don't have the kind of time to invest in a universe. That doesn't mean there aren't things I like the Peacemaker show he did. I'll watch Peacemaker, and it's going to be a part of the universe. But I just don't care anymore. Fantastic Four. I don't care about Fantastic Four. I'm not rushing to see Fantastic Four. You see that stuff, and I'm like, it just looks nah. It looks meh. And none of it excites me anymore. I don't see what. I don't think it excites the audience much anymore either. I could be wrong on that, but I think the numbers are coming in on these big Marvel movies and stuff, and they're just not. I just think the spectacle's done. You know what I mean? If you can come in with a really character-driven Marvel movie, yeah, I'm interested. I want to see something fun. That's what I liked about She-Hulk was it was just different. It was a different idea with a different kind of character, and I thought it was hilarious. It was just funny week to week. It was just good 30 to 40-minute episodes for however many weeks. They were unique. They were funny. I had a great time watching them. But then I go watch the new Daredevil, and it's just so underwhelming. You know what I mean? Who cares? I'm tired of listening to this superhero moan over his life and wonder if he should be a superhero anymore. It's you can only see that so many times, And it's like, I love Daredevil, but it's just like none of this is hitting for me. I feel like I could just not watch it. I mean, I'll probably finish the season off on the final episode coming up, but like I'm not really all that interested in season 2. So it's just, none of it really means anything. Does that make sense?
It does. It does, and I think you hit it pretty good with very simple. Life is too short.
Yeah, and it's like
You can't get burnt down on something that you've enjoyed for so long.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not like I don't want to include it in my life. I just want it to have more impact.
Yeah.
And the only way it's going to have more impact is if it's stuff that's actually quality. There's a different... I mean, even at home streaming stuff, I don't want to watch stuff that sucks. You know what I mean? Like, it just is what it is. Yeah. I want quality now. So I'm being a little bit more picky about the stuff that I consume media-wise. I think everyone should be. There's just too much to do. Go out and get some air. Go out and
go outside, touch grass.
Touch some grass. Go for a hike somewhere. Go. Like I'm looking at. I want to. Like I was talking to my buddy recently about taking up golf or something because I'm noticing a lot of people around our age has taken up golf over the past few years.
Not me.
Not me. Yeah, no, not me yet. But I'm like, man, that would be kind of fun to do socially with other people. Like just go out and drive a golf cart and hit some balls around and stuff and learn how to play. I'm like, I think I would enjoy that. That would be kind of a fun thing to do. And it's like, I'm going to try to do that soon. And I wouldn't do that like 5 years ago now. So it's like, it's time to just like find other things to enjoy. That's why I don't get really too upset about like gaming prices or anything, I don't care because I'm looking for the experience. I know that when I come around to Mario Kart World, I'm going to get one hell of an experience out of it because I know what Nintendo's going to deliver.
It's just like your car shopping.
Yes.
You're going to pay for that nice fancy car because it's something that you want.
Yes.
If it's going to be more, so be it.
Yes.
You don't want to pay it, you're not going to pay it.
Yeah, a little different because I got to have a car.
Yeah. Wants and needs, priorities, I get it.
That's more of a need and somewhat of a want. But yeah, no, it's just... it's interesting the past 2 years, with things happening in life, including last year with our friend passing away, it just makes you realize that, we're consumers to this stuff and we're allowed to be picky and we're allowed to expect quality and expect something out of it. So in movies, and I don't mean like it needs to be a big budget movie. You know what I mean? I have no problem watching a $2 million budget film. I just want it to be an experience worth watching now. So
I've always found myself getting into, I don't want to say arguments or altercations with people, but I don't watch a lot of movies. I don't watch a lot of TV shows. However, I will dump 100 hours into a game just to get the full experience.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's my thing. Movies is your thing. Other thing could be for other people, right? So we each have our own vices, but we are extremely limited on what time we have here on this earth.
It's interesting. I was talking to my coworker who is he's got a Nintendo Switch, and him and his wife, they like to play Mario Kart and stuff, and we actually watched the Nintendo Direct together at work when we were working, and we'd kind of pay attention to it, and it was interesting because he's like, yeah, I love the new Zelda game. He's like, the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. He's like, I sunk like 100 hours into it. He's like, I went through it all, and then right before I go fight Ganon, he's like, I want to start over and do it all over again because I just enjoyed the game so much. And I'm like, man, he got so much out of his purchase. Because he's like, I went back and I did it all over again. I went through, did all the shines, and then I beat the game. And he's like, I did the same for Tears of the Kingdom. Because he's like, I loved doing that so much. And that, to me, is the type of experience I want, whether it be film, television, or video games. You know what I mean? I want to have an experience that he had. Like, I had that, not to that level where I'm going to start over, but that experience of, I had so much fun just going to every nook and cranny of this game. And I had that with Breath of the Wild. Not as much with Tears of the Kingdom, but more so with Breath of the Wild. And also like Horizon Zero Dawn. I had it with that game as well, where I was so engrossed in that experience. And it was totally worth it. And that's what I want. And it doesn't have to be, like that Hollow Knight game, right? I had that experience with that game where it's like, okay, I want to just explore every nook and cranny of this game. And I did. And that was a $20 game. So that's what I'm looking for in life at this point. I think that's what everyone should look for. You want to have those kinds of experiences. I don't want to just play everything that is out there or watch everything that is out there.
If I'm getting paid or reimbursed for it to do that, then sure, that could be my job. That can be
if you want to pay me to do it, and I'll do it. But no, I want to be a little bit pickier. That was kind of my mindset over the past year or two.
I want to be pickier in what I spend my time doing.
That's good.
I want to find ways to find new experiences too. So like a friend of mine asked me to go rock climbing with her and her husband at a rock climbing place. I didn't get to go, but I'm gonna go eventually because I think that sounds fun. But I wouldn't be able to do that if I were too busy watching too many movies. You know what I mean? Like I just don't. I'm trying to find a way to find a balance of experiencing life in a new way, while also enjoying the things that I like.
In a way, I've been doing that too. I've been doing some IRL streaming, which is odd because I've never really gotten into it, never really even watched people doing it. But for some odd reason, people like to watch me do artwork and spray paint and that kind of stuff. So setting that bullshit up in the garage, having some background noise for a couple hours is something I like doing, and it's something that people watch.
I remember one of the people we interviewed at Motor City. She does stuff like that because I added her after we did all that stuff. She's on my Twitch account, I think, and she'll pop up, and she's always like cooking or just talking or something like that.
Very strange.
The people, I mean, I don't sit there and watch it. I popped in and watched her every now and then, but I haven't like sat there and followed her completely.
Have you ever heard of streamerthons?
No.
So I'm a streamer, and I'm getting into like different things and how they are, but this thing is called a streamerthon, right?
Yeah.
And a streamerthon, what it is the more people that subscribe, more people that pay money, the longer you're going to stream.
Yeah.
But I just find it so weird
logging
on to Twitch, downloading my videos. Okay, I got 2 minutes for my download, so I'm going to go see who's live, what's going on. It's just streams of people sleeping, and they got like 4,000 viewers.
Oh, no, I can stream that. I can do a lot of sleeping.
Wild. But then they're getting donations probably throughout the course of the night. They're getting anywhere from $10 to $100, if not more.
I believe it.
For sleeping.
Yeah.
It's fucking wild. So very wild.
Is there anything else we want to touch upon? I mean, we've been talking for like 2 hours.
I know. But let's go ahead and get to a couple articles here. So there is a game that I'm looking forward to. It's supposed to be coming out this year, May 15th, Doom: The Dark Ages.
Yeah, that looks good.
My God, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's awesome because it's going to be there on Battle.net, so I'm going to be able to get it also on the computer as well.
It's going on Game Pass, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
so
I might check that
already
out.
have it downloaded and everything, so we are good to go.
I checked out Indiana Jones, and I thought that was a really good game.
I'm not much into puzzle games myself.
Not much puzzles in it.
No? Okay.
I was kind of surprised. There's some, but not as much as you think. It's a lot more like, it's made by the same developers that did Chronicles of Riddick, and I think there's a lot of similarities between the two of them. I would totally recommend it if you're on Game Pass. Check it. I mean, you can play it. You might as well. Okay. I liked it. In fact, if I get a Switch 2 and they actually port it to the Switch 2, I'd probably buy it on the Switch 2. Because I think that would be just a fun game to have on portable. Because I didn't get to finish it, unfortunately. I got wrapped up in other things, but I really enjoyed what I did play.
So you are able to convert Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on over to the next Switch.
Yes.
Again, going with a major compatibility there. That game list is going to grow, I'm sure, by the next time we have a podcast or even by the time this one comes out. So, there's going to be a lot to go on with it. There is one thing that I do want to touch on. John Carmack. Does that name ring a bell? Anything to you?
Yeah, is he like the original Doom creator?
Boom. Doom has got some Quake involvement with it, too. And then, of course, you got the Spawn with Wolfenstein. But John Carmack
Does he even make games anymore? I thought he went to like the VR world and got lost there.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's still probably lost in there too. But he was approached in Microsoft's AI model, Copilot. I'm sure you're familiar.
I am. More so at work than I am here because I don't usually use Windows-based products.
Yeah, neither do I. And he was able to watch an AI-generated Quake 2 level that this thing made. So what it was prompt to, I want to play this level, show me how to do it. AI did it. Of course, it was not looking like Quake. However, when you would turn a corner, the enemy would be there. It would show you what buttons to press and everything. And he was quite impressed with it.
Yeah.
For an industry to be able to push out that kind of stuff, I believe it's rather scary.
I mean, it's happening, period. It's happening at all levels. I was contemplating looking into taking a junior programming position. So I've never really done programming, and I thought it'd be a really great position to take to learn programming because they taught you everything from scratch. And then I was talking to another buddy of mine who's in the IT industry, who's more in cybersecurity, and he just flat out said, you can do it, it's nice to learn that, but he's like, I'm letting you know now, they're just using AI soon. Like, a lot of those jobs are going to go. Not that I was looking to be a programmer long term. I just wanted to be in a position to learn it.
Sure.
And he's like, those jobs are going to be gone sooner than you think. And because it's just easier and effective, it's cost effective to use AI to do it. The average person can just use AI to do coding. So he's like, it doesn't even make sense at this point. So,
Speaking of something, great segue. I want to use those words. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, re-releases. Doesn't make sense.
Re-releases.
I don't think we honestly need to see re-releases of older Call of Duty games. Especially, we just had a remaster of this bullshit not even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Why the hell are we doing it? We don't have any more creativity.
So, you know something that we should talk about?
I thought it would be interesting to talk about this Billy Mitchell thing that you have in here.
Oh, yeah. About that guy.
Yeah, because I think it's interesting as someone that's worked in the journalism world. And so I know I'm not like a massive Carl Jobs fan. I enjoyed watching his speedrun videos. I always thought they were fun to watch him talk about the various aspects of speedrunning and just the mechanics that go into it. He did a really good job at it. And then he started focusing more and more on like, oh, I'm going after cheaters now. And then he's like, I'm going after people that are cheating charities and blah, blah, blah. This is kind of what happens when you have somebody that doesn't understand journalism and legalities, who just kind of thinks they can say what they want to say in a lot of ways.
Well, that's their right of opinion, right? So they think they're underneath that amendment right to say whatever that they want.
Well, they can say whatever they want within the sense of...
You get to an article or something like this.
The problem is that you have to be careful with what you say, because then you start coming up with things that could assassinate a person's character, which is what happened here.
Yep.
He said something that was defaming of another person's character, and he probably didn't realize it. You know what I mean? Like, he probably didn't think he did. You know what I mean? And you don't realize it, and that's why, like, when I worked in the newsroom, they spend a lot of time going over scripts to make sure, okay, you're not going to say this because we can't substantiate this. And that's what happens. And I thought that was kind of an interesting thing that happened. I think a lot of people felt like they got blindsided because he was using GoFundMe to pay for his legal defense there, correct?
Yes.
And they're like, oh, he told us it was for something, and then actually ended up being something else. But then other people did point out that Carl Jobs did, in those videos that he did say, like, hey, yeah, no, this is part of the defamation lawsuit too. So, like, this is all part of it. But again, I just thought it was interesting because the thing that got him was kind of like, in a lot of ways, just an offhanded comment that he made in one of the videos, right? And I think people got to understand that, like, you got to be careful with, like, accusations and stuff that you make. So...
It's the same thing with here, too, with what we see on the podcast. Mm-hmm. It could come back and haunt us next week, next month, 10 years from now.
Yes. Yes.
And it doesn't matter on what you say, you can always offend someone.
Well, you can't just, there's a difference between offending and getting into legalities.
Well, yeah, but...
and you can say what you want, but then there are consequences to what you say. You got to be careful.
Right, and you can deep dive into someone's compliment, and turn it into a bad light, and you can just curate it, and you can really destroy someone just by how much you don't like them. For whatever reason. And I don't know if there was anything with this case about that. I understand that there was something that was said, but that something that was said was a $350,000 mistake.
So if I remember correctly, and I might be wrong on this one, but if I remember correctly, in one of the videos, Carl Jobs said that there was a streamer named Apollo that killed himself.
Yes, and that linked it to...
He said that he owed Billy Mitchell money, and that money played a role in his eventual suicide, which just simply wasn't true. There's no way to prove it, I don't think. In fact, he didn't even owe Billy Mitchell money. He just owed an apology. And he didn't correct that. He just, he said whatever. So, that's just how it is, which is not true. He clearly
it had nothing to do with this guy's suicide, but I guess it cost Billy Mitchell a job, some money. I guess he had an appearance, he had an appearance lined up, and then after that video came out, the person sent him a email saying, "Look, that Carl Jobs video that just came out apparently. Although we need to be careful what we say, but I guess he submitted something and he lost out on potential work. I didn't read as much into it, but I did see that. And you got to be careful when you make those accusations, and you got to be careful when you think you're going after people with investigative journalism. It can come back to haunt you.
Yep. Be careful what it is that you do. We have a bunch of articles that we can keep on going through. Let's talk about games here. Yep. Since we have not really discussed any games that we've been playing, have you been touching anything out there? Or are you just going outside and hugging trees?
Going out and hugging trees. Okay. No, nothing lately. The last game I really played was Indiana Jones. That was earlier this year. Well, it came out in December, and I played it into earlier this year. I did buy Xenoblade Chronicles X recently. I just haven't had a chance to play it. I think I'm going to move over and play that on the Switch 2 when it comes out. That's when I'll probably really dive in. So I'll wait on that. That's fine. There's a game coming out, and actually you kind of have it mentioned here. I can't remember what it's called, but this just reminded me. There's a game coming out this summer where it's like Pac-Man. Like you have a Pac-Man that follows you, and it looks like a Metroid type of game. I can't think of the name of it, though. It looked really cool. It was in the Xbox showcase recently, and it was in the Nintendo showcase as well, and it just looked awesome.
Was that Marathon?
No. Let me see if I can find the name of it. Let me bring it up here, because did you not see the trailer for it?
I seen it. But before I pumped this article out to you, I watched a lot of trailers and come up with a lot of this stuff.
I feel like you probably would have seen it, especially if you saw like any of the showcases they did recently. Oh, come on. Okay, there it goes. Hold on. Pac-Man.
So, PlayStation Plus, real quick. Free games for April. Hogwarts Legacy, Blueprints, Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, Tape 2, and Battlefield 1 are going to be included. And the free PS Plus games are going to be RoboCop, Rogue City, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Digimon Story, Cyber Sleuth, Hacker's Memory.
Okay, this is what it's called, Shadow Labyrinth.
Okay.
I'll show you the trailer when we get off, because it looked really. I thought it looked cool. It looked like the type of game I'd enjoy playing. Yeah, that's blah, blah, blah. Brand new game based on Pac-Man Shadow Labyrinth at the 2024 Game Awards. The title marks a surprising, bold shift. Yeah. It looks really cool. I thought it looked cool.
I don't have much else that I'm looking forward to this year, at least when it comes to games. Release-wise, nothing is really poking out.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to see Microsoft. I would like to see what they're going to support with the Switch 2. I think we're going to see some support from them on the Switch 2. I'm happy that PlayStation owners are going to get a chance with Forza 5, which is a great game. I'd love to see Forza 5 go to the Switch in some fashion, because that would be a game I would throw down money for and get.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, if that ever happens, you got to let me know, because I don't want to say I'm an avid player of the Forza franchise, but I love it.
Well, no, I mean, I can play it on the Xbox, but there is something cool about having it to go. And like I said, I'd love to see them put Indiana Jones over there on the Switch 2. I'd snatch that up, too. I'm going to actually get the Cyberpunk game, if I can get a Switch 2. I think I'm going to pick up Cyberpunk for it as well. And I know people are like, well, you already have a PlayStation 5. Wouldn't you just get it for them? I don't know. It sounds kind of cool to have it on the Switch. I don't know why. Like, it ain't going to look as good as it will on the PlayStation 5, but there is just something, it was funny. I really enjoyed Doom on the Switch. And then when I came around and played it on the PlayStation 4, I just didn't care as much. Or the Xbox, I just didn't care as much. It was just kind of cool to have it on the Switch,
Is that because you were playing it and then you wanted to walk away? You picked up the console?
Yeah, you can pick it up. And then the other thing I really appreciated about the Switch, which I think is going to continue with the Switch 2, is just how quickly it just turns on and plays. I'm right in a game like that,
We have a Switch here, and I just really haven't dabbled with it. And I think if I were to, I would be afraid that I would want that kind of experience out of Halo, Microsoft.
Yeah, you're not going to get it. They
No.
just made
And it's not that, and it sounds weird because it's not like the Xbox or the PlayStation take forever to load up or boot up. There's just something nice about where I'm just sitting around at home and I want to play, and I can literally just pick it up and I'm in the game like that. Like I'm in on a snap of a finger and I'm playing the game and I'm good to go. Or if I really want to, I can put it into the dock and I can kick back, relax, and just play it. There was just something so nice about that that I really, really appreciated.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to bring up?
I don't think there's anything else going on these days. What else? I mean, yeah.
It's been a long, 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could cover the 5 years. Man.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Got a new president in. We got a bunch of things.
We've had a couple new presidents at this point. We've had one new president, and then we had one come back.
Yep.
So, yeah, it has been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, we don't have stimulus checks coming in to give us our income.
Yeah, not that I had much of a stimulus check. I was out working 2 jobs at the time. So not much changed for me. I was working my ass off. So.
Yep, never got a break here. It's something on, here we are 5 years later.
5 years later. So, yeah, I don't think I got anything else.
No, neither do I. Thank you for coming on out.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again soon. I've been trying to get you to let me come out for like a year or so now to get back at it. So
I finally got a day off.
You got a day off. Yeah, so we'll have to do it again soon.
Can't wait.
Yeah.